Hi, this is Jennifer from Interview Genie. Today I want to talk about the number one mistake Chinese students make in interviews. Now these can be high school, college, or grad school interviews. So here's a question for you. Do you think Tony's going to do well at his interview? Tony is a Chinese 10th grader. He's interviewing at an American high school in Boise, Idaho, which is in the US. He's smart, friendly, and he has perfect grades. He also plays basketball, is on the chess team, and is president of 2 school clubs. So this is the kind of kid that should do well at an interview, right? I mean, it's the kind of kid I would enjoy interviewing. So, do you think he's going to do well at his interview or not? And why? No, Tony is not going to do well at his interview. Do you know why? And no, it's not because he has bad English. Your English does not have to be perfect for interviews. Okay, so the number one mistake Chinese students make in interviews is over preparing for the interview. What? What do you mean over preparing? How can that be a problem? Isn't preparing a lot good? Well, usually it's good. But for some things, like public speaking, it's not really good to prepare too much. So why is preparing too much before interviews bad? Shouldn't you prepare a lot? I mean, your interview is important, right? Why shouldn't you prepare a lot? Well, the problem is when you prepare a lot before any kind of public speaking, including interviews, you sound like you're reading out loud something that you've memorized. The person listening to you, the interviewer, can tell. They know that you wrote everything down and then memorized every single word. That's not how normal people speak. You want to sound like you're having a conversation, not like you're just reading from a piece of paper. If you prepare too much, you will sound like a robot. And no one wants to talk to a robot. How should you prepare for an interview so that you're not preparing too much? Well, the best way is to think of the question you're trying to answer. Think of your answer, but don't write it down word for word. Don't write down every single word like you would if you were writing an essay in school. Just write a few notes, a few bullet points, a few words to remind you what you want to say. And also, don't use big, complicated words. Just use simple words, the same words that you use every day. You don't need to try to sound extra smart in your interview, because that'll just make it sound, well, it'll just make it sound like, well, you're a robot. So here's an example of a bad answer to this interview question. This is the answer that Tony gave when he was preparing for his interviews, and it's not a very good answer. Why? Well, there are a lot of reasons, and if you want every specific reason, you can go read the blog post. But basically, this is not how normal people talk. This is how you might write if you were writing an academic paper, although it wouldn't be a very good academic paper either. But basically, the language is not natural. It's just not the way people talk. And it sounds like he memorized it. It sounds like he wrote this down word for word and then just told the interviewer what he had already written down. So, bad idea. So, here's a good answer to that interview question. Why is it good? Well, the words are shorter and simpler. They're words you would use normally. If you wouldn't usually use a word, don't use it in an interview. The interviewer will definitely know you are not being natural. Remember, you don't want to sound like a robot in your interview, so don't write out the answers. Just write a few words down and try to remember them. If you'd like help practicing for your interview, you can write to me at jennifer@interviewgenie.com.